Remember that time I painted Magneto to make a video, and then accidentally deleted all the footage? I had to paint a second Magneto? Hi guys, Jonathan from True Raven Studios. Welcome! I do painting videos, model reviews, and general gaming content. If that's the sort of thing that interests you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. Today we're going to be painting Magneto from Crisis Protocol from Atomic Mass Games. This is a pretty cool figure, and earlier in the week, if you were checking my videos out, you would notice that I already painted the little floating metal constructs that come with him. So I'm not going to go into the metal swirling about him on the base in this video. I'm going to link up here to that video so you can check that out for that part of this paint job. Painting Magneto himself is actually pretty simple. He's pretty much red and purple, and that's it. A little bit of flesh on the face, and other than that, it's pretty quick. So this video is a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be, but let's get into painting. I already started the airbrushing on, again, the metal stuff floating around him in the base. The video I linked before, you can check out how I did that. And now we're going to get into the painting of Magneto himself. We're starting off with purple from Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl, and we're painting the cape. I'm trying to be careful to not hit the things that are already painted. Just spray with smart angles and you should be good. Anything I really can't get to, I'm just going to go back in with a brush and touch up afterwards. So we're just nice solid coat of purple all over anything that's going to be purple. So the cape, the gloves, the boots, and that sort of thing. We're going to shade that down now using transparent purple, which if you build it up over layers can get quite dark. So you can kind of see I'm just taking that low angle and shading in anything that I want a little bit darker to add shadows to all these purple areas I just painted. Make sure you're moving the model around so you're spraying from smart angles. Again, we don't want the overspray to hit anything that's already painted. If a little bit gets on the areas, that's okay, but we just want to take smart angles to try not to overspray on anything else. Now we're going to go bold Pyro Red, and we're just going to base coat the rest of the costume with this red. I normally like using the airbrush for everything, but the fine detail on this, you're just not going to be able to do with the airbrush, so I'm using the regular brush here, just base coating everything. Now with transparent red with a little bit of transparent purple mixed in, we're going to shade down those red areas. If we get overspray onto some of the purple areas, it's okay. It's just going to give us a little bit of color variation. It's not that big a deal, but we're trying to focus in on the red as the camera focuses in on my airbrush instead of the model. Now, after doing that, I wanted the cape a little bit darker, so I mixed some blue in with transparent purple, and then I went back in on the cape just to darken down certain areas, because after I painted the red, I thought it needed a little bit more shading. So again, just try to be careful to miss the things we've already painted. Now I'm going to go in with tan flesh and paint in the face. It's a little bit of fiddly detail here because it's recessed down, so just take your time with it. If you make any mistakes, you can cover up with purple around the edge. I'm also going to paint the eyes a blue color. I'm going to do that off camera because the work's just a little bit too fiddly, but just a light blue dot into the eyes. Now we're moving over to oils. This is purple matter thinned down with mineral spirits, and I'm just washing the face. So just take your time with it. You don't want to overdo it. Just let it settle in the recesses of the face a little bit to give us some shading. You want to make sure you have the right consistency here so you don't make a mess of things. Now with a mix of red with some Winsor blue mixed in, I am just shading down the red parts of the costume. So again, it's thinned down with mineral spirits, and we're just letting it run into all those recesses and give us some nice shading. Again, we have the red oil paint mixed with a little bit of Winsor blue. And now we're going to reverse that mix, some Winsor blue with a little bit of red mixed in, and we're going to shade down the purple areas with this. So We want going for a really dark purple. Windsor Blue is a pretty dark blue, so when we mix the red in with it, we can get a nice deep purple color to shade everything down. So we're letting it run the recesses, and then I'm also going to put a little bit on the cape here and there, and just use the mineral spirits to kind of feather it out into the surrounding areas. You can kind of see I'm doing that here. It's at this point that I'm going to finish painting the base and the metal stuff floating around him. Again, I linked the video earlier how I painted the constructs. It's the same process, so the airbrushing parts were earlier. The rest of it is going to happen right now. We're going to set the model aside and let the oils dry for just a couple hours, and then we're going to come back and finish the painting. We're just going to quickly add highlights to everything now, so we're going to go in with tan flesh on the face. Again, at this point we want to be pretty careful to try not to get any of the flesh color paint on anything else. Sorry if it's not quite in frame here, but again, this is fiddly work. It's kind of hard to paint in the recesses of that helmet. Once we're happy with that, I'm actually going to move over to pale pink and add some further highlights onto the face. So if you're not familiar with the Pro Acryl, pale pink is a very light flesh color. Then I'm going to go back in with the red that we base coated the costume with and just highlight everything. So that we want this thinned down a little bit so we can feather it out into the surrounding areas, but we're just going to paint all the raised edges, kind of the tops of the defined muscles on the torso, the lines in the costume, that sort of thing. Remember, whenever you're painting, generally speaking, when you pull the brush stroke, you're going to have most paint deposit at the end of the stroke. So as you're moving around, make sure your brush stroke ends where you want it the brightest. Now I'm going to mix a little bit of that pale pink from the previous step in with the red color and just add some highlights to help further what I did in the last step. So we're just kind of refining things a little bit more, brightening up certain areas. You want to have this cover a smaller surface area than the last step, so we don't want to completely cover up the highlights from the last step. We just want to refine them a little bit more by covering a smaller surface area inside of them. And then using the purple, which if you remember is what we first base coated all the purple parts with, we are going to do the same thing and do some nice sharp edge highlighting on all the purple parts. So anything that's a sharp edge, we're just going to hit with this color. So you can just kind of see, mainly focusing on the belt here. You want to focus on the hands, kind of the ribbing in the gloves and the boots, the details on the helmet. You can also go over any sharp edges on the cape when you're using this color. And once you're finished this, the model is done. Like I said, there's not much in the way of colors on this guy. So this is the finished product. I think it looks pretty cool, especially with the metal constructs around him. Looks pretty neat. I guess I should be happy with this figure after having painted it twice, but you know, stuff happens, and now I have two painted Magnetos. The cool thing about these Crisis Protocol figures is the comic book costumes just kind of pop, and it lets you use very vibrant colors and a limited palette in those vibrant colors, which is a lot of fun. I hope you guys found that useful. If you did, I would appreciate a like. Is there any other Crisis Protocol figures you'd like to see me paint? If so, let me know in the comments below. Next week I'll be painting my least favorite X-Man, Wolverine. Yes, I hate Wolverine. The results of the poll I posted a week or so ago says you guys want to see him paint it in the yellow costume, so that's what we'll be doing. But until then, keep on gaming and paint your minis!